I'm Rick Daly. Welcome to Horizon. Tonight on the Wednesday edition, the cities of Phoenix and Tempe are at odds over noise from Sky Harbor International Airport. In just a moment, we'll talk with Barbara Sherman, chairman of the Tempe Noise Abatement Committee, live from the Tempe City Hall. And in part 3 of our series on Landsat, a look at the use of satellite surveillance of our dwindling natural resources. And we'll see what happens when Scottsdale High School students step back in time, 100 years, and attempt to drive a wagon train across the Arizona desert. Then we'll visit the Kitt Peak National Observatory, where just this year, using a unique solar telescope, astronomers made a basic discovery about the sun's energy. In a society that values high technology and just about anything new, the contributions of those who came before us are sometimes forgotten. But Saguaro High School history teacher Bob Kastelic and a select group of his students will always remember what it was like for the pioneers who settled the West, because they recently crossed 80 miles of desert in a wagon train. The following feature is provided to Horizon through the generous cooperation of United Cable Television of Scottsdale and producer-photographer Brad Mudgett and production assistant Jeff Sears.
In preparation for this trip, if you're cutting it in the fundraising, the research, the construction of the wagons, if you're cutting it, you're a survivor. And the only kinds of kids that are going to come on this trip are survivors.
I'm definitely glad I made the trip. I haven't experienced anything like this ever, and I think this will be the only time that I will.
I thought it was a real challenge. I didn't think I'd make it through the whole trip, but I did. We can have our own adventure story out here by ourselves. I mean, every day, it's like the Big Valley all over again, you know.
Well, the bottom line is you can open up the history book and I can tell the kids, okay, now look, wagon trains came across the frontier and people settled, but until you get out here and feel what those people went through, until you're soaked to the skin and you know you got to get up tomorrow morning and put on wet clothes, hook up your teams, until you know what that feels like, I don't think you can really appreciate what those people went through. Last night around the fire, we were talking to the kids about heroes, how many heroes you have. People that came across and settled this frontier were heroes, and they just don't get enough recognition. It takes a lot of guts and a lot of determination to stick to going someplace where you don't know your destination, and you still drive on. I think that kids are getting an appreciation of history. I think they're getting an appreciation of American heritage, of what those people did in order for us to live out here.
You know, the heroes that we hear about aren't the pioneers. You just say, well, somebody jumped on a wagon, you know, went out west. It's not like that at all. I mean, they went through 6 months of this, and I don't know how they did it, because 1 week, and I'm saying, get me home. I can't believe they actually made it all the way across, but I really respect the people that did.
If I was living back then, it would have been just part of another day. But since, you know, we live in a society that cars are going around and everything, you know, we don't think anything about the pioneers.
I can just see how much work they had to go through. I mean, it's almost ridiculous how much they had to do. You know, I don't even have time to do your hair in the morning, to do anything, because you're so busy getting the horses ready, getting the wagons ready, et cetera, et cetera.
I don't think I would do it again. I proved myself once, and that's about enough.
I think most of them right now, after all the miserable conditions they've gone through, do appreciate technology more and appreciate the city life more and the environment they came out of. And that's probably why some of them want to go home.
I don't think we would have lasted another week. Everybody's just about dragging. I know I am.
I actually think homework would have been a heck of a lot easier and they probably would have gotten done with it a lot sooner. I don't know. A certain kind of student would opt for this, and a certain kind of student would opt to do homework. In my opinion, I think the student that wants to do the homework, fine, do the homework. Student who doesn't and chooses to do this, fine. But these students out here have done both, and they're doing both because this is an alternate project that is optional to them. And if they want to do this, they're not really getting any credit in the grade book for it. They're choosing to do this for the experience of doing it.
This is definitely worse than homework. This is definitely worse than homework. You're living at 24 hours a day. You know, you go to school from 7:30 to 2:30 and you're through. You can go home and do whatever you want, but you have got to stick it out here every single minute of the day.
I've never worked as hard as I have in this past week as I have in my whole life. I've just learned so much that this is just a once-in-a-lifetime thing. We're never going to be able to do this again, and it's great. I'm glad I got the opportunity to do that.
I take about a month of homework over this, but I think I learned more on this trail than I would have in a whole year of school.
I learned how to work together with people and about horses and their characteristics that I didn't know before, and how to get along with the people that I really don't like a lot.
I'm not quite sure what's out here. It's something that is bigger than me and bigger than the students and bigger than a lot of what's going on out here, and it's definitely taking care of us. We've been in some tight situations and always managed somehow to pull out of them safely. And from that, I think myself and the students have learned a very good lesson, something that you could sit in the classroom all day and never get. And people talk about, but until you experience it and feel it, you really don't know what they're talking about. I think most of the kids are glad they went. I think that some of the kids probably didn't anticipate the difficulties. They didn't anticipate all the hard work. But I think when they get home, they're going to appreciate the fact that they were given an opportunity to go out and have this experience. And I don't really think any kid's going to come back and say, hey, it was so miserable, I wish I hadn't gone. No, I think they profited a lot from going, and I think they're going to look back and say it was a good experience.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Rick Daly. Good night.